Hello again! Alright, we're on to the second part of the video. Really, I just worry about my videos being too long and people getting bored and not watching them. But we come now to the behavior part. We've talked about identifying a bird by shape, beak, really important, feet, if you can see them. Feet are like the beak, very important. You know, little perching feet versus grasping feet gives you a pretty good idea of what you're looking at. I'm going to include a lot of information in the resources, either attached in my post or linked below. But there's a ton of stuff out there that's really, really helpful. But behavior is incredibly important. If you see a bird and it is flying in a certain way, for example, vultures. Vultures don't flap a whole lot when they are soaring up high. So, and that makes them very easy to identify. Or they might have a V shape with their wings and kind of rock back and forth. These patterns of flight can be really helpful, especially in, well, really anywhere. So a great example is hummingbirds. Hummingbirds have a very distinctive form of flight. So knowing the sorts of ways birds fly. Parrots, flap a lot. Hawks, some hawks fly like flap, 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 drop, 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 flap, 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 drop, 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 which is, again, a more advanced skill, but as you start to bird, you will notice more and more similarities within a family of or order of birds. Hi, dog. Also, the behavior is important. Were they flying? Were they fishing? Were they at rest? When they were at rest, how did they look? These are all more advanced things, but these are very easy ways to be able to tell a bird from another bird, really. And also, we come now to my favorite part, which is the bird song. Birding by ear is very, very difficult to do, and I had to take an ornithology class and be able to identify 50 native Florida birds by song, which was incredibly difficult. I have now found some tried and true tricks. My favorite is your phone. There's a website called Xenocanto, and I'm also going to include it. And I have learned bird songs by downloading them and going online and saying, how do I turn this downloaded MP3 file into a ringtone? You will never ever forget that bird if it is the ringtone for your text messages or calls or alarm. Which, for birds like resplendent quetzals, which I know Perky is very excited to see, would probably be very helpful in terms of identifying or figuring out where a bird is. You might not ever see the bird, but you can probably hear it. Their calls travel very, very far, and some of them are known for having them travel very far, like the bellbird or macaws. But again, I recommend going to Xenocanto, familiarizing yourself. If there's one bird you're particularly excited to see, like the resplendent quetzal, I would very much familiarize yourself with that bird. Also, if there's a specific bird you want to see, we're using the resplendent quetzal as sort of an example here. I would also learn what that bird looks like in its various stages, like non-breeding plumage, breeding plumage, non-breeding plumage, what females look like, what juveniles look like. Take the effort and learn more about the bird that you want to see. It'll probably up your chances of seeing it because you'll be able to identify it. Maybe you won't see an adult male resplendent quetzal in full breeding plumage, but you saw juveniles and a mother coming to the nest, which would also be really cool. Also, one of my other favorite things is being able to identify bird resources. If there's a bird you want to see, like a hummingbird, keeping your eyes around the flowers is probably a good idea because that's what they eat. They eat the nectar, or they drink the nectar, and are important pollinators, so they're probably going to be visiting flowers more than a macaw. So keeping an eye on things you know your bird likes. So for macaws, it would probably be looking up at the tops of trees or palm nuts. Looking for palm trees and things like that. So knowing what your bird likes, looking around areas of water. Birds always congregate around areas of water. And birding at the right times. Birds are always usually more active in the morning, right before dusk, times when it's cooler out, because it's hot. And they don't want to fly around while it's hot. That's a lot of energy. It takes a lot of work. But we come now to the second most important part. And I'm going to cover that in my next video.